Welcome to the program on principles of supply chain management. In the last session, we were discussing about demand management. One of the important subtopic in demand management is demand forecasting, and it is one of the essential skill for the supply chain professional. If you see any of the job description, they expect you to know what are the various methods available in demand forecasting and how to do it. Possibly you need to know those methods, but before that, why it is required. Okay, that understanding should be there. When we talk about previous planning process, for example, master production schedule, or even for that matter business planning, you need to have some idea about what will be the quantities in the future. We may use it for a strategic purpose or a tactical purpose or a operational purpose, and we need a forecast. I don't think any product or service or any organization does not need the forecast. Only thing is we need to see how accurately we are able to do the forecast, because all our supply planning, inventory planning base is based on forecasting. If you are having high error, then it is going to lead to frequent shortage of lines, all that. Or on the other hand, it could also lead to excess inventory if there is a wrong forecast. So it's a part and parcel of any organization to have a forecasting. Either they are in product manufacturing or servicing, it becomes very important. At what level forecast is required means we have a different levels of forecasting. You can talk in terms of business level. You can say I am going to grow in terms of 10% in revenue, or you can talk in terms of product families. You can say electronic products business, I am going to do 20% more next year, or 500 crores turnover next year. Okay, or you can go to the lower level in the electronic product. You can talk laptop, I am going to do this business, this quantity. Okay, so different levels at which the forecasting is done, and each serves a different purpose. So when you are doing forecast, you should know what purpose it is being used, and accordingly you can do the forecasting. There are different methods of forecasting is available here. Of course, this topic is also very huge. In fact, you need several hours to understand this topic. We have a program either for 2 hours or 8 hours, and in fact we do supply chain analytics mainly focusing on forecasting, which is nearly 100 hours. So here briefly I am going to talk so that you get a overall knowledge. There are predominantly two methods of forecasting is available. One is called qualitative forecasting, and another one is quantitative. Of course, qualitative, there is no number, it's more of a judgmental forecast, expert opinion. You are consulting experts, and then you are driving the forecast. Whereas in the quantitative forecasting, you are going to use the number, what has happened in the previous time period. That's where something called time series data. You have the data for previous 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So you are trying to find out the pattern in the data and trying to see how you can extrapolate to the future years. Okay, this is where there are lot of methods available, starting from simple moving average, exponential method, and it goes up to deep learning methods using Python and other complicated software. If you are interested, we are doing supply chain analytics using Python and machine learning, and we train the people up to some level which is sufficient for supply chain executives. Okay, so there are different methods are available, and we have to see which method is suitable. because there are maybe several instances. If you take a regular production can have some method of forecasting, spare parts requires different method of forecasting, services may require different methods, sometime some random sales may be there. So you need to find out which method is appropriate for your business. Coming next topic is, having done the forecast, you should know how to measure the error. Here we are trying to compare actual with the forecast. Okay, assume that you have forecasted some quantity for the next 6 months, and after you have the actual figure, you need to compare the actual with the forecast, and if the error is within manageable limit, it's okay. Otherwise you have to revisit your methods of forecasting and moderate that figure for the final evaluation. This is where there are lot of tools. Predominantly most organization uses Excel, but if you have huge volume of data and you need special methods of forecasting, you need some analytical tool. We use Python in our supply chain analytics program. Okay, because Excel has its own limitation and capability, but if you need some of the tools, possibly you need to go to higher end. We train people on Python and various methods of forecasting, advanced method. And when you have huge data, it should be automated. Okay, not that every time you are doing manual analysis, which leads to error. Okay, coming to next topic for is capacity management. This is one more mostly ignored area for the supply chain professional. When you are making delivery promise to the customer, you should also know whether are you capable of delivering those items to the customer. Okay, so you need to know your capacity to deliver those items. So it means studying your capacity, your plant's capacity. Okay, so there also we see different level of capacity management. We also call this as a resource management on the long term. Okay, now you are doing 1,000 units per day. Maybe in 3 years time you want to double that capacity. So what are the things required? Should you add a new manufacturing plant? Do you invest in capital goods by purchasing some of the machinery and equipment? So it starts with the long-term resource management in the hierarchy. The second level is called RCCP, rough cut capacity planning. You know, we were talking in the planning hierarchy. There is a SNOP, then comes the master production schedule, then MRP. So comparing master production schedule, we used to have mix level there. We were talking about end product quantity. So for that we need to check the capacity by using a process called rough cut capacity planning. Okay, here what we do is we check the capacity at the constrained resources. Okay, any manufacturing a facility or a process will have some constraint. Possibly if you have thousands of machines, there will be a few constraints to ensure the production. So we are only trying to check the capacity of these resources, whether are we going to meet the demand or not. That what happens in the rough cut capacity planning, but the process is very big, which we deal in our other processes. Then coming next aspect of capacity management is CRP, capacity requirement planning. Though this name looks like a ERP module, but this is a process. Okay, in the previous rough cut capacity planning, we are checking the capacity at bottleneck resources in terms of end product, but for the MRP you need to check the capacity at the component level. CRP checks the capacity of each of the resources at the component level. to make a product you need 100 different components. Now we are going to the extent of checking, do we have capacity at each of the component level, so that we can confirm to the demand, saying that we can meet the demand. Of course, this is a very tedious process. Many times it could be a complex if you are having multiple products using the same resources. It may be simple, for example, same resources, same final product you are using, then it could be very simple, but that is not the case for the many organization. You are having different products, and checking the capacity is very critical. I have seen in large organization like Bosch, we had thousands of machine in one plant. So checking capacity at component level is very detailed, time required. You should also understand installed versus demonstrated capacity. A particular machine is capable of giving certain production based on the technical specification of the machine, but demonstrated capacity is something which we are able to do over the last few periods. Assume installed capacity is 500 units per month, but you were able to do an average of 450 units in the last previous 3 months or 6 months, which means the demonstrated capacity is only 450 units, and for all your calculation and promise to the customer, you have to use demonstrated capacity. At the same time, the management is expecting you to improve the demonstrated capacity to the installed capacity level. Then you need to understand there are various terms like utilization, efficiency, and effectiveness, because now all this manufacturing facility has invested thousands of crores in their resources, so they should be optimally utilized. So you should know how much is the utilization target. It may not be feasible all the time to utilize the resources 100% of the time. So many best performing organization can have 90 to 95% utilization. Efficiency is output by input, that also may be in the range of 90%. And when you combine utilization and efficiency, it becomes effectiveness. There are formulas involved. And how flexible are you in terms of increase in capacity or decrease in capacity or change in model? This is what is going to determine in the capacity management. Okay, so having a knowledge of the capacity either at your plant or your vendor plant becomes critical in ensuring material availability on a continuous basis. So I request all of the supply chain professional to have a detailed knowledge on capacity management, so that you can support the supply chain performance. Thanks for watching. We will see in the next session. Bye.